I used alcohol as a big coping mechanism for my stress and anxiety because of business.
Happy hump day, everybody. It's another Wednesday, which means another episode of the Skid Steer Nation podcast. As always, you can't get rid of me. I am your host, Ryan Deemer. Today, well, I'm going to start by prefacing that my guest today, Colton, he and I actually recorded this episode a few days ago. Or I should say we had an awesome conversation a few days ago because I never hit the record button. So we are doing take two, and I thought it was important to share that with all of you because, yeah, shit happens. Adapt, overcome, get the job done, fellas. It's part of our daily routine, and I am not immune to it either. So before I introduce Colton, I do want to remind all of you that to grow your business, to give the customers the best results, you need the right tools for your equipment. Head over to skidsteernation.com. Find some high quality American made skid steer attachments. Guys, I've vetted the manufacturers. I've tested many of them. They're great. Simple put. You get what you pay for. The return on investment's amazing. And lastly, if you are a business owner, you've hit a glass ceiling, not sure where to go, struggling at the beginning, I'd love to work with you, talk with you, whatever it is. So head over to groundbreakinggrowth.com and you can schedule a 1-hour discovery call with me. It's free. And I promise that no matter what the outcome is, whether we work together or not, you will learn something to help you grow your business from your time on that call with me. They're in the show notes, both Skid Steer Nation and Groundbreaking Growth. So just scroll down and hit click. And while you're talking about the show, we don't have very many reviews. We got a lot of people that listen to this show weekly. Do me a favor, take 3 seconds. Click the 5 stars. If you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple, love for you to write a little report or a little sentence or two about it. So share it with me, guys. It drives me, gets me going. Enough rambling. Colton Nolan. He's from Nolan Construction in Richmond, Kentucky, not Virginia. So Colton, man, thanks for doing this part 2.
Right. Yeah. No, glad to be back on. Hopefully we'll get to have another great conversation. But I mean, it's an honor, man. You know, I've listened to this podcast for it's at least been a year. I've caught it on and off. So it's great to be here.
That's so cool. We're at that stage in the business now, and I think it's true for any business, right? Like if you just put the work in and you consistently do what you're going to do every day, every week, you start to reap those benefits. And for me, I'm starting to get guys that are going, dude, I'd love to be on your show. I've been listening to it. And that's kind of new territory for us. So it's pretty awesome on our end.
Right.
Yeah, you've got an awesome story, and damn it, I'm so afraid I'm going to shortchange it because I've already heard it, and I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure we stay on point. But you actually got into this because of your grandfather.
Correct.
You relocated to work with your grandfather, and then you ripped the whole business apart and built it your way. So why don't you walk me through that beginning of you joining Nolan Construction?
It's kind of always in my head. That's what I wanted to do. I mean, you can ask anybody in my family. That was like, one day I'm going to go there and help my grandfather. I went to school here at East Kentucky University, got my degree in construction management. I went to work for a production home builder right around Cincinnati. Moved up there, was working for, 6 or 8 months. I had started talking to my grandfather about some stuff. Wouldn't say I wasn't happy where I was at, but I definitely felt like I could be doing more with what I knew. And just so happened, my grandmother called me out of the blue one day, and she's like, "I've got your grandfather here. If this is something you really want to do, I think it's best that you do it soon. He's not doing too well." And I kind of talked to some people I trusted about it. And put in my 2 weeks, moved back in with my dad for like couple few weeks. Went down there, talked to my grandfather. He was 79. I would have been 23. We kind of talked about things, what he had to do, what he needed finished up. The business was in Manchester. That's about hour and a half, 2 hours from here. Told him, I'll do anything I can to make the people that you got stuff promised happy. And he was actually more into general contracting, carpentry work, stuff like that. Um, I spent about a year and a half down there, finishing up what he had. We built a few houses, did a few additions, basically anything to kind of keep the doors open. He passed in April 2020. And it was kind of at that point, my wife was working in Lexington. We were, or I was living in Richmond, driving back and forth every day. Like I said, I went to school here and I got to know a lot of people here. Some of my people in my family had bought into businesses here. And Richmond's more of a growing, booming area. And I just started, I take some work up here, I take some work down there, whatever it took. And I'd really kind of got established up here probably by 2021. I was doing a lot of I was doing a lot of metal buildings, residential contracting, commercial contracting. Had a skid steer ordered. Um, was doing, that was during COVID. So, you couldn't get anything. If you wanted a piece of equipment, you either had to buy it used or, that whole ordeal.
Sell your first child too. Got to the point there.
Right. Right. And, I was doing some work for one of my good friends, who's now became like a mentor to me. Give him a shout out, Keith Nicholson over at JB Sales. And I told him I ordered this skid steer, and he was like, "Well, that's good, And we got on the topic of excavators and this stuff, and he's like, "Well, why don't you buy an excavator?" And he's like, you've kind of always been into that stuff. And he's like, you can still do whatever you want to do. He's like, but I think I can, he's like, you can for sure help me with some stuff. And man, that was in 2022.
So did you cancel the skid steer order?
Yeah. Well, I put a deposit down. I didn't get the deposit back because it was a different store. I went and traveled to Newman Tractor and bought a Sany SY35. They were like one of the only people in the state who had excavators readily available. Knew a guy that was working there, called him, got it all figured out. I actually did the RPO agreement. So like I rented, they put so much of your rental towards buying it. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, blah, blah, blah. Rented it for like 5-6 months and then turned it over to finance and bought it out and haven't really looked back. I mean,
so is it safe to say that you took a big leap into the excavation part of this based on your friend, Keith, saying, if you buy an excavator, you'll help me out and I'll make sure to help you out?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I still had some like contracting stuff to do. And I still do a little bit of kind of like a turnkey building. I'll do it for like cost plus fee for family or friends or people that I trust and know. I wouldn't say I go chasing that work down. But yeah, it turned into helping him to doing jobs for other people. I still help him on, all kinds of stuff. And now we do a lot of utility reconstruction, commercial construction, concrete, excavating. I mean, basically anything that's involved within water lines, sidewalks, roads, making it look like nothing was ever disturbed. Our big thing is we'll go back behind people that maybe had something fixed, tore up in their yard, the street, whatever, and make it look like it never happened.
That's so awesome. I just had a thought while you were talking about your different services, and this was more personal curiosity, but I'm sure not anymore, but at the beginning, did you run into any issues with people having a hard time understanding what you did for a business or finding you because of the name construction in your company name?
Yeah, it's kind of been tough. There's been a couple people who I would say probably once a month I'll get a call and like, oh, I need this done. I'm like, I don't really do that anymore, but here's somebody you can call. But sometimes it's tough. But there's a few companies in town who have like the name construction and they do excavation too. So I was like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. So
yeah,
I just kind of ran with it. Nolan Construction has been around since 1978. So it's kind of a big deal for me to carry that legacy. And, I want to be able to give it to my kids, grandkids, somebody one day. Like I said, it was always my goal. I didn't really ever think I'd be doing what I'm doing now, but I love it. Um,
That's
so, I
awesome. Yeah.
mean,
I would have, I mean, if I was in your shoes, I would have never changed the name of the business either, just because of the history of your grandfather. I was just curious if it created like an additional hurdle, because starting a business is tough enough, right? Like we don't need to add more hurdles to the track.
right. Yeah, no, I think the most difficult part was there was so much of an age difference between my grandfather and I. He had all this knowledge, but he wasn't doing very well physically and health wise. So like up until, I don't know, 2 or 3 days before he died, like I would go see him every day and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this and doing that. Like, what do you think?" And he really couldn't get around well, but he could have a conversation with me and say, you're doing fine. I'm proud of you, whatever. And so that was a big deal to me to hear that he was proud of me and that he was, he wasn't worried about nothing. But I mean, it was tough between. I wouldn't say I took over a booming business. I took over a well-established name in a place where he was well-established. Finished up what he had, did whatever, and then moved it somewhere new. So it was almost like I was starting over again. I knew a few people from. I worked for a general contractor all through college that I still talk to today. He's one of my good friends, and met a lot of people through him. Met a lot of people while I was in college, and I mean, I think that's. I tell people all the time, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I could have saved a lot of money going to college. Just somebody would have taught me that when I was 17. It's what's that other saying they always, it's the same thing, right? Like your net worth is equal to your network.
Right.
So it's very true. Question. You relocate the business. Were you a solopreneur doing everything yourself when you relocated it, or did you actually move staff and crew with you?
I had a few guys that were uh, up somewhere up here, somewhere down there. It kind of, you know, I gave them the opportunity. I was like, if you want to do something up there, we'll make it work. It didn't last very long, but mainly I was doing it all myself. We were self-performing a lot of carpentry work, doing like a lot of sub-base models. So I would do what little I knew I could get done in a good amount of time, and then everything else I would just call somebody and say, "Hey, I need this done, this done, this done." Be the liaison between the owner and the inspectors and the subcontractors. And I mean, I think that's what a lot of guys that I went to school with kind of want to do. But I like more of the dirt work portion. I've always loved equipment ever since I was a little kid. My mom has stories of me. We would drive past some construction site and I would be in a car seat and she would have to pull over because I would get so excited I'd bounce my way out of it. So it's kind of always been there.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. And so that was in 2020, you moved it up to Richmond, 2021?
Between 20 and 21, it was kind of a multi-month thing. I didn't just, pick up and I started taking little bits at a time. We had an office where my grandfather was. Um, and I started just moving stuff into my mom and stepdad own a business here in Richmond, and they had a couple empty semi trailers and a big parking lot. And I just started moving stuff into these trailers, and kind of made my office at home. That's where I'm at now, and I think I was completely out of there by mid 21, maybe before that. I don't really
So
recall.
we're a smidge over 3 years, give or take a few months. So how big is your company now as far as whatever you want to share, revenue, employees?
I've got two full-time guys. I've got one part-time guy, student who's in school here. He helps me on his breaks. For the last few months, I'd had around 4 or 5 guys and just kind of scaled back. Things are getting a little out of hand as far as control and work and stuff like that. I've actually moved into. We have a new 4,000 square foot shop that we're leasing out. Got a place to put all my equipment, all my tools, all my trucks. I think we're on track to do a little over 500,000 this year. So, and that's all pretty much self-performed. I'd say maybe 10% of it we've subbed out to other contractors or stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. So your first year in Richmond, are you 2x, 3x more this year in revenue? I mean, I think it's just good to let guys see, or like, oh, just because I'm at 50, 100, 150 doesn't mean that's where I have to stay.
I would say I'm somewhere between 2X and 3X. I can't remember off the top of my head.
That's awesome.
Because, there at first it was do whatever to keep the doors open. I was kind of in between the carpentry and excavation. So, there'd be a month where I'd be building somebody a building. And then there'd be a month where I was maybe helping Keith or, somebody call and say, I need a water line dug in or.
Yeah, anyone that listens to this show knows my feelings about doing anything and everything, but I'm curious to hear your personal experience with this. Did you feel the business was growing when you were doing all that, or did you feel more like a hamster in the wheel?
I felt like a hamster in the wheel. There were times it's like, what am I doing? Like, is this even worth it? Am I doing the right thing? But it really kind of taught me like, okay, you need to get your ducks in a row on the business side of things and start. It's where I really learned about advertising and word of mouth. I think, like we talked about last week, most all work I get now is about word of mouth. I get maybe one or two leads a week from my website or Google my business somewhere in there. But I think it just goes back to that network of people. I get buddy will call and be like, hey, I got a guy looking for this. Can you get him in? And it's like, yeah. And if not, I'll tell him to call somebody else.
Yeah, so. I really think we as business owners, we see the next latest and greatest thing, or we just get tunnel vision, right? Like we're the horse track, we're the horse, the horse on the racetrack. We're like, oh my God, we have to do Facebook ads. And then you forget about everything else.
Right.
And like, if you just take a half a step back and be like, man, it's a holistic approach. We got to have a network, some yard signs, some local things on the ground. We need to have a strong website, Google business profile, things that just churn 24/7. And then we have to have some paid ads, whether it's, billboards, Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever. And if you can find the mix of those three that works well in your area, like finding business is never the issue after that.
Right. No. Yeah. And I mean, that's, I've been lucky to, not feel like I'm in competition with a lot of guys. I think it's a lot of people have helped me. So therefore it's encouraged me to help other people. So collaboration over competition. I mean, there's plenty of work for everybody to do. You just got to find what you like to do, or maybe what you're good at, or what you see a need in where you're at, and run with it.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And we talked about this last week too. Any business owner I've met that's developed a network of other excavation business owners all says the same thing. Like a rising tide raises all ships. They share projects, they get input. They've built this relationship that they can either refer work, get referred word, or just get some advice from time to time. And every business owner I've met that's like, hell no, man, I'm not getting involved with my competitors. I feel the ones that I've spoken to struggle a little bit more.
Right. No, I mean, I've not really ran into the whole turn you away from help. There are definitely bigger companies in Richmond that are on a different scale than me. But I know of them. I know some of their top guys, or guys out in the field. I'll see them, at the gas station or wherever. But I really like to help other people because I wouldn't be where I'm at without someone else or multiple other people helping me.
Yeah, you got to pay it forward, man. We're not built to do this life alone.
No, it's miserable to do it that way.
How's your wife? I know some guys struggle with relationships because the focus on the business takes away from the focus at home.
At first, I think it was a lot. It was a lot for her. She's a nurse, so she has, more time at home than I do. But now, as things have kind of evened out, we're not up and down all the time. I think it helps me to spend more time at home that I can, or spend more time with her, rather than just work, work, work all the time. It's always up here. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm always like, we'll be sitting watching Netflix or something, and I'm like, well, I need to do this, I need to do that, or do I have this ready? But she's definitely been very, very, very supportive of me. I try not to bombard her with, oh, this happened or this happened or this guy acted this way, and I just can't stand it. I try and share enough that can feel like we're in a healthy relationship, but not be like word vomit and be like, oh, it's terrible or it's great or. So
Yeah.
it's been great.
It's funny because I did it years ago. I had to learn how not to do it, unteach myself. But yeah, you want to share everything like it's your manager or your coworker,
Right.
and
Right.
their interest level in the compaction rate and the flow of is less than zero.
You're right.
Right? Like, are
Yeah.
we getting paid? Are we getting sued? Is the
Yeah.
team happy? Like, they want to stay
Yeah.
high level, man. It's just, let's keep it
Right.
on the high.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wants to know, like, tell her if we're going to purchase something big or something like that, a truck or a piece of equipment. But
And show
other
me
than
you've
that,
cash
it's,
flowed it and the numbers work, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
funny,
been
man.
well.
That's funny. I don't know how to transition to this. It just kind of happened organically last time, but I felt like it was such a major part of our conversation that I think I looked at you and just randomly asked you, like, what's the biggest change you've made to help you grow your business? And you hit
Yeah.
it out,
Yeah.
like you knocked me out of left field with this answer, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, man. Like I said last week, it's been sobriety. Um, I used alcohol as a big coping mechanism for my stress and anxiety, because of business. A lot of guys I knew, I wouldn't say that they're in the same boat I am, but they drank. They were business owners when they wanted to, take off at 12 o'clock, go play golf and have a few drinks. That was good with them. And I took it a step further than that. It was good day, bad day. I was going to have some drinks, and it got to the point of my wife was ready to leave. And I walked into a local 12-step meeting here in Richmond, and I haven't really looked back. I mean, that was in 22. So I think I've got a year and 10 months of sobriety. And words don't do it justice for what it's changed in not only my business, but my life, my marriage, my friendships, the people I've met. Um, I just really used alcohol as this escape. I didn't want to feel anything, and that was my way out. And today, I'm happy with my life. I haven't thought about taking a drink today. Is life perfect now? Absolutely not. But what sobriety has taught me is that everything's, it's not going to be okay. But I can't control everything. I have a big problem with trying to control the outcome of people and projects and money and just life in general. I don't life the right way. And sobriety's definitely turned that all around for me. I don't know where I'd be without it. If you would have told me before I got sober that life would look like it does today, I would have called you a bold-faced liar. I was like, there's no way you can be happy, do what I do, work construction and not drink. Let's throw that out there.
No kidding.
You can't finish concrete and not drink a few beers when you're done. I just thought that was impossible. And life's great today. My wife doesn't worry about what I'm doing after work when I'm coming home. My men aren't worried about if their check's going to be there on Friday. And I have a different outlook on life.
Yeah, that made the hair stand up in my arms last week, and because it was just so out of left field that one, you were so comfortable sharing that and being open and raw. I was just like, it wowed me. And two, I just feel like that's a message that specifically in the trades, somebody listening to this is contemplating if they should quit drinking. It's a guarantee, right? Shit. I thought about it last week, and I only drink a couple days a week, and it's not a work issue. I do want to ask though, and I don't remember if I asked this before or not, but would you have went to that meeting without the threat of your wife leaving you? And then 2, what did it feel like walking through that door the first time?
I definitely thought a few times that I'd had some kind of a problem, or I thought in my head, like, man, if I could just quit drinking, life wouldn't be this chaotic, this stressful, this hectic. So it had crossed my mind a few times, like, I've got to do something different, or, this ain't working, or, I would say all these things. I'm not only going to drink beer, I'm not going to drink this, I'm not going to drink that, or only drink on certain days of the week. And it would go smooth for a week, maybe 2 weeks. And before you know it, I was right back into causing stress and, you know, stuff like that. I think that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. She's been very supportive, and she was also kind of the one that, kind of pointed it all out to me. I never really thought there was a problem. I kind of thought everybody just acted like I did and thought the way I did. And um, so I actually reached out to a friend of mine who had actually just got sober a month or so, couple of months before. And I was like, man, I'm at my wit's end. Like, I don't know what else to do other than try this. And he was like, man, I've been going to meetings for a while. I think it's worth at least giving it a shot. As far as walking through the door, it was definitely scary. It felt embarrassing. I'd never known anyone prior to the friend of mine doing anything like that. And I just kind of walked in and sat in the back, and I didn't really partake for probably a month or two. And had a guy stop me outside one of the meetings. Was like, "What's your deal, man? Like, you trying to do this thing or not?" And that's where it kind of all shifted for me. I identified that I was an alcoholic and that I don't life the right way. And now it's one of the most exciting parts of my week. My wife gets upset because I'll stay after the meetings talking to guys or trying to talk to someone else that needs to hear what I've had to say. Or
Ain't that a woman right there, man? You're out drinking too much. Now you're out sober too much. Like, holy shit, dude. That's funny stuff right there.
But it saved my life. I mean, and she's got to meet some of these people that's been sober longer than I have, and meet their families or their kids or whatever it may be. And it's like I said, it's one of the most exciting parts of my week now. I look forward to it.
It's so amazing that it's impacted your life that way for always, I mean, obviously for the better. And I think it's even more amazing that you share that story to, one, in my opinion, when you share stories like that, it's a good self-confidence booster. It's like a good reminder that you're living the right life that you want to live. But 2, I mean, if that impacts one person and helps one person, that's what we're here on this earth to do, is to assist and provide, help for others.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's kind of the big thing, is it goes back into helping others. So not only can I help people in business, I try and help people in sobriety when I can, whether that's people I know or don't know.
Yeah.
Someone helped me in those aspects, and it's my duty to pay it forward.
You were telling that story, and I could just keep thinking the same thought over and over again. Like, we were raised, suck it up, don't cry, figure it out, be a man, don't ask for help. Maybe the words weren't "don't ask for help," but damn it, if we didn't hear that, right?
Right.
So all I could think about was you being like, God, it felt embarrassing because I felt less than, that I wasn't the man I was supposed, like, and then you're nervous because it's the unknown. And I'm like, so many guys get in that same loop. But yet when you hear somebody's story like yours, everybody hearing this is like, damn, like, how courageous of him to go walk through that door and do what he needs to do. And it's just that irony that you cannot be courageous without first being vulnerable.
Right. Right. No, I mean, it was definitely tough. Like, I mean, it scared me to death. I didn't know if it was going to help or hurt. At first I kind of was just like, I'm just going to, try this and see what it does. But I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And, you know, not everybody's like me. People can be what other alcoholics call normal, like you, and have a drink or two and be fine. I can't.
Right.
And,
But I also
that's
have
in,
nights where I have like 2 or 3 and I'm like, I ain't stopping. And I make a cognitive decision though. I'm like, no, I'm going to stay out tonight. So there's times that I'm like, maybe drink, but I don't, I'm justifying it, right? That's exactly what I'm doing.
right.
That's what we typically do. But no, it doesn't affect my day-to-day life.
Right.
And I'm lucky enough, like I hate drinking unless I'm in a good mood. Like to me, it's for fun. Like I don't come home from a bad day of work like, Jesus, I need a glass of whiskey. Like not my thing. But it is wild though, because like you have to get to a point where you no longer can accept the pain. Like, and sometimes that level of pain is deep.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I just 3 weeks ago was my 47th birthday. And I just remember looking in the mirror going, boy, you had all these ideas and visions and dreams and the way you want to live your life, and you didn't do a fucking single one of them this year.
Right.
Like you let life run you instead of you choosing the life you want to live. So like I woke up the next morning at 5:30 in the morning and went to the gym, and Tracy's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm done, man. Like the only thing stopping me from being who I want to be is my own personal dedication to it and having a little bit of grit.
Right. Right.
So it doesn't, whether it's drinking or your personal health or a couple extra hours on your business or quality time with your kids, all you got to do is make the decision and prioritize it.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be non-negotiable.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does. And it's wild. Like we're 3 weeks into going to the gym and like I'm waking up 15 minutes before my alarm now.
Right.
It's like, all right, time to go. I hope, knock on some wood here. I hope it sticks around for a long time. I've been known to go balls out while it's a passion or an interest, and then it quickly fades off. So I got to find that balance where it's just like you're 47, man. Like we're looking for longevity and health. We're not looking to be 6-pack on the beach chasing down chicks on spring break.
Right.
And I did not mean to do that as a lead-in, but isn't that how you met your wife?
I met her while I was at Eastern. In college. Yeah.
Where did you meet her at?
A bar or a party or something. So
somebody, that was the connection. Somebody I talked to before, actually, the girl was down the road in a different town and they met on spring break, and then he moved her up and all that. How has your ability to lead and manage your team improved the last 2 years?
Oh, it's a night and day difference. Before I was kind of just like you said, day to day, whatever came, I was reacting to it instead of being proactive. And now, I feel confident in what I'm doing. And if I don't, I have someone I can call and talk to and be like, hey man, I'm dealing with this. What do you think? And they'll either tell me, I think you're on the right path, or no, that's a shitty idea. Do something else. Maybe look at it in this light instead of that way. So it's, like I said, it's night and day. I never thought life could be like this and not take a drink. I haven't thought about it today, like there's a whiskey barrel head right there that my best friend got me for, I think it was a wedding present actually. And, we can go places. It doesn't bother me to be around it. I can go with friends or a wedding or whatever. People can drink and it's whatever, I'm good with it. Like I'm happy with who I am today.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I see you got the old college fraternity paddle on the wall too. And I know a thing or two about those, and you weren't sober when you got that either.
No.
I don't want to know the story how you end up with a paddle. They're never good. So we'll just zip right past that one. Um. Okay, I'm kind of off track here. As far as back to the business, I mean, I understand your sobriety was a huge point and gave you clarity and be able to focus and all that. Was there a major decision as far as like the type of work you're going to go after or the commitment to your customers? Was there something you can place that has been able to take you to that 2 to 3x growth in just a couple of years?
I would say I could pinpoint it on any certain, job or idea. Um, but it's definitely been part of the excavation, like transitioning into that. Um, it doesn't feel like a job anymore, um, if I could say that. And when I don't always get around equipment or whatever like I want to. There's times that I've got to be the business owner and go look at jobs or get permits or whatever. But when I'm on a piece of equipment, it's like all that everything in my mind, the stress, it all goes away just for a little bit of time. And like I said, it's kind of always been there since I was a kid, and I just enjoy it more. It doesn't feel like a chore as much. Are there hard days where some guy hits a utility that wasn't marked, or you hit it and you knew it was there, and it's not fun to do that. But I would just say somewhere around that, buying an excavator and, just kind of taking that leap. It was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. We really focus on some of the smaller projects. Most of our projects can be done in a day or two. Sometimes, we'll take some that'll take, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. But most of our stuff we can get in early, be out by at least the next day. And I like that, that quick, we're not waiting on, is this guy going to make a decision about this, or is he going to pick out this, what he needs, or where he's going to put that? And that was kind of the big difference for me in the contracting world, is you're waiting on everyone, all these subcontractors or the owner, to make all these decisions. And then you're trying to tie it all together. Is the weather going to hold out? Is the electrician going to show up when he's supposed to? And okay, now we're at the end and the owner doesn't like this. Like, you still have all those problems, but I don't I don't feel ill chasing down those problems now. Whereas before it's like, gosh, dang, like, can't we just get done with this and you give me my money?
I would assume that home building is a guaranteed 10 to 50 of those things, where excavation is like they're going to happen, but it's a gamble if it happens this day or this project. And it's not a guarantee like it is in home building.
Right, right. Yeah. So, I mean, we still do some of the commercial stuff, and that's why the guy that I worked for all through college, he was like, man, if you're going to do something, just try and do commercial. He's like, it's less headache. Yeah, they take a little longer to pay, but like, that's worth it. It's usually more money. It's a lot simpler. I got somebody standing out there going, well, my cousin Ricky could have done it for half this. It's like, and so I'll do some residential stuff every now and then, especially for friends. Or, the right job comes by where, maybe a little slow or whatever, and I can mix it in the schedule. But I try and stay around the commercial space and those jobs that we can knock out in a week or less.
And whether you know it or not, like, you've got clarity, like you know exactly who you are. You know the type of projects you want to bid, and you know what you're good at. And I think you have to go through that hamster wheel at the beginning.
Yeah.
To come out with your definition of who you are as a company and what you want to be focused on.
Yeah, and I think that's where I really struggled when I went down with my grandfather. I kind of thought it was going to be this, oh, you're taking over a business, you're going to sit in the office or the truck and just point fingers, and it was not that. And that's no fault of my grandfather. Like I said last week, there was just so much of an age gap between us that I couldn't get there in enough time to, follow where he would have left off on a great footprint. But I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't redo it for anything. But you got to go through that. Okay, I'm doing this and I don't like it. Like, I'll finish this job and I'll finish whatever else I've got on the books, but I'm not doing this anymore. Like, there for a while we were doing bathroom remodels, and enough times that somebody complaining about this or that, it was just like, at the end I was like, I'm not taking on any more of these. Like, Like, yeah, it's good money. But that's not enough to keep you going for a long time. At first
No,
it's like, yeah, okay, I'll put up with this. But then after like the 10th one, you're like, yeah, I'm out.
chasing money only lasts so long for me anyway.
Yeah.
That's where I had to learn, and I'm still learning with it. It's still a daily battle to do it, but it's like control the controllables, fall in love with the process, and show up every day and try to improve that process just 1%.
Right.
The
Right.
outcomes will be the outcomes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that was the big thing with my sobriety is controlling the controllables. You know, I can't control it all, or the people, or the outcomes, or the money, or whatever. And now it's just kind of like, I've got a list over here of what I'm going to go try and do. More than likely, it's going to change by the end of the day. But I've got an idea what I need to do, how to do it, when to do it. And if I can't, I can tell somebody, hey, this happened and we'll be okay. And, I'm not stressed out and freaking out all the time.
Yeah. And I feel like I keep hearing undertones of this too, but throughout your journey, like you've just come to grips with, I need to focus on my own shit, not worry about anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. There
and
for a
it's
while, it was
yeah. Compare your
worried
business to
about,
the guy down the road and you're worried
yeah,
about this,
yeah,
or oh look, he
yeah,
bought a new truck, and who
yeah.
cares? Yeah, like I think we talked about the book The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan, where if you're living in the gap, you're always comparing yourself to other people, you're always moving the needle forward. Everything is a need. And
Right.
then your stress level is always high. Like you're not in fight or you're in fight or flight for continued periods of time. It actually ruins your nervous system, which is why people get sick and autoimmune diseases and all that. It's all mental. It's not the food.
Yeah.
It's mental. But if you can live in
Yeah.
the game, the only person you're playing a one person game. Am I better
Right.
than I was yesterday? Did I show up better
Right.
today? Did I improve or learn yet? Like you're not worried about the competitors or anything. Like you're just playing
Right.
against yourself. And the things that you want, like the things that you want in your business, you understand that you want them and you're going to have to build a plan to get to them. And they're not a need like, oh my God, I need a new truck. No, you want a new truck.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
it's wild. And it sounds to me like you are in that mind state now where before you were not, where you're just very comfortable focusing on you, your business, the tools you need, to the men you need, the support they need for
Right.
growth.
Right. Yeah. It's like I said, and we talked a little bit about last week. It's not up to me. What's going to happen is going to happen. I can do what I need to do, but at the end of the day, like business or no business, life's going to happen. So I can just show up every day and help somebody, and for me, stay sober, and that's the biggest win I need.
Yeah. And I love hearing a business owner prioritize himself over the business. Like we build these businesses with the idea of freedom and financial gain, and then we literally become a slave to it, where we have to work 16-hour days, 6-7 days a week throughout
Right.
the summer, and everything that we wanted for our family, other than some money, goes away because we're not present.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I still struggle with that. Keeping maybe my identity or my security tied up in the business. Thinking that however the business is doing is how I'm doing, and I have to really, become aware of that and separate myself from it. Because if not, you're just right back on that hamster wheel of, you're worried about the cash flow, or am I getting any leads, or, this guy's not doing what he needs to do. And, there's a time to work on your business, but you can definitely take that overboard or cross that line very, very easily.
Yeah, and you said the big word, right? Like your identity. Like you've got to have an internal identity, and you can't let it be wrapped up in external things, whether it's the relationship with your wife, being a business owner, age of your equipment,
Right.
any of that stuff.
Yeah. Cause I mean, you get to comparing yourself to the guy in your in your trade of work, or the new guy that's starting out doing this, and you're judging your insides by their outsides.
Yeah, it
So,
was bad enough when we compared ourselves to everybody in our community. And now that you got
right.
social media, Jesus, now a 21-year-old kid can spend 10 hours to get a 2-minute clip, do something a million times to get it right, and then act like it was the first try. He's perfect. And we're like, God, we're
Right.
less than. I'm a loser. That kid can do it. I can't even do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely tough. So I try and, just surround myself with people who want to do somewhat of the same things I want to. They may not be in the same business I am, but they want to have a good relationship with their family. They want to have a good relationship with their employees. They want to provide a good place to work, or, they want to help the people they work with. Um, so that's what's been the big game changer for me, is not looking at it as, like you said, I had this idea. I was like, oh, I'm going to, take over this business, and I'm going to make all this money, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And it's like, whew, wrong about that one.
Yeah. We all are, man. We all are. Yeah, I find that I've kind of I had to compartmentalize like into different buckets where I can put people, either like you've got your close family and friends, and as long as they provide value to me, they stay there, right in the heart of
Right.
it, right? But then I'm pretty passionate about a couple hobbies, and I've got a few friends that are also. So like those guys, even though I'm not getting any business or some other things, like he's my connection to keep me connected to my hobby, I'm in.
Right.
But if I meet people and if I can't put them in one of the buckets, like, hey, do you make me a better person? Do you make my family better? Are you be able to mentor or assist or provide something to my business, or do you make my life better? If their answers are all no's, outside of running into each other at the grocery store, we probably won't talk again.
Right. What would
But
you
I've
say
made it.
last week? Babysit their kids, or would they babysit your kids, or something
Yeah.
like
Would
that?
you let them babysit your kids, right? Like,
Yeah.
hell no, man. Well, then why are you calling them on a Tuesday or bitching about the neighbor's lawn? Or did you see
Right.
Susie's dress when she came out? Who cares? Um, but yeah, like I had to go through because I was giving too much of myself to too many people that were providing nothing in return.
Right. Right.
Because in my 20s, growing up and figuring life out, I owned a bar. Oh, well, you're a bar owner, man. You're everybody's best friend. You know, I mean, shit. We had people coming in 4 or 5 nights a week wanting to hang out and talk. Of course, they want a free drink or they want to feel like they can walk around town like, oh, that's my best friend.
Right.
But they weren't providing any value to my life,
Right.
and I didn't recognize it,
Yeah.
and I had to get
Yeah.
burned.
Yeah.
So, and then I had to seek help to figure out how to recognize it and what to change about it because it was new territory for me.
Right.
And I think that's a like business too. I was like, if you're less than 5, 10 years, maybe even not even time's probably not even relevant. The way technology's changed the last decade, like there's some part of this business, especially whether it be the new GPS and laser grades and the swivel this or the new softwares that provide time management to buy back your time, you name it. There's no way we can know about all of those. We need to go ask for help for this stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. You spend so much time chasing that next thing, like you're just right back in the cycle of chaos.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm getting really big into telling all the guys we work with in groundbreaking growth. I'm like, we're picking one avenue, man. You want to be Facebook? You want to be Google? Like, do you want to be local community networking? Like, we're going to pick one and get really damn good at it.
Right.
And then we'll look at a second one.
Right.
There's enough business if you spend enough time on one avenue and get really good at it that you don't need to have your hands in 8 different things that you're not good at any of them.
Right. No, 100% agree. I mean, you're an inch deep and a mile wide in some places. And that's where I was for the longest time. I was like, oh, yeah, bathroom remodel. Yeah, we'll do it. Oh, you want a deck?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. Oh, you want to build? Yeah, we'll do that. And at first, you're just like, oh, I'm just doing this to get by. And then that's all you're doing is getting by. You know, you're working 16 hours a day so you can get to the next pay goal on the contract. And then, now it's, I'm going to do what I want to do. And, if I don't want to do it, more than likely I got somebody I can say, hey, call this guy. He does that. Or, I don't know anybody. Like, you need some help, call me later.
Yeah. I, I personally find that even if you can't help your customer, if you can guide them to somebody, they don't forget that.
No,
Right. Like,
no.
oh, he was really helpful and spent 2 minutes, 5 minutes.
Right.
And like they might keep you top of mind next time they need some sort of service that your business can provide for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wild, man. Wild. Man. Family legacy business, relocation, good growth over a 3-year period. What's your plans for the next 3 years?
I want to keep growing. I want us to do something. I deal with a lot of old construction material, as far as concrete, asphalt, rock. Do something maybe within the recycling of that or reusing it. Something I haven't totally made my mind up yet, but I want to stay within the excavation, land management, whatever you want to call it, space, the utility work. I mean, that's people are always going to need that fixed. The people are always going to need water or sewer or their driveway or whatever it is. So I really like that aspect of things. The economy turns, not everybody's going to want a house built, and there are people that make it through that. Um, good for them. But I'd like to see some growth. I'd like to really work on my standard operating procedures, document and stuff like that. Having the handbook that I can talk to guy, hand over to guys, and that hey, we got this job come in over on this street. Here you go take care of it. Call me when you get a problem. And I mean, I'm say I'm like 70% there. I've got the guys that work for me they're respectful. I trust them. I'm not worried about is my machine going to be at their neighbor's house at 5 o'clock instead of back at the shop.
Yeah.
But
So last week when we were doing our conversation, you were actually in the office and the guys were out doing a job. How are they working today too?
yeah, we finished up a little early today. We actually got started early. We finished one job and then we had started a job last week for a friend of mine and went over and got that complete. And then I said, hey, y'all go do that, wrap it up, take some pictures. And then, we got some stuff to do around the shop. And so I think I left at 11 today. So,
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And one, you have to let go and give control to these guys. Like if you treat them like a toddler, you get toddler results. Let's just
right.
right. Like if you micromanage, you get shitty results because they don't have to think and they resent you. But if you get
Right.
like if you let go just a little bit and be like, hey, this guy's free thinking, he's got the right heart. Like if he makes a mistake, it's gonna be an accident and he's gonna try. Like, don't why hinder him?
Right. Yeah. You got to let people fail. You can't. That was always my big thing was I wanted to micromanage and, see every little thing through. And that's not how I learned. So I can't expect someone else to learn like that.
Yeah.
I figured a lot of stuff out on my own. Probably not the easy way, definitely not the most efficient or cost saving way. But if you can give a guy say, it needs to look like this at the end, this is where we're at, ask them what their thought process is on how they're going to do it. And, more than likely, if they've been with you for a while, they know what you expect, how you expect things. And if they got a question, they'll call.
Yeah. But again, like people are always envious, like, damn, like you're able to walk away in the middle of the day. But do you let your team make decisions on their own? Or do they feel that they need to call you for approval for everything? And I went through that phase where I had to break that shit quick.
Right.
I actually
Right.
became unavailable for a little while to be like, prove a point that you don't need me. You're just afraid to make a decision without me.
Right.
But becoming a business owner that's able to not be on every project for every hour, it does not happen by accident.
No, no, you can't outwork that, you know, you can't, just be available all the time and think that, being there and answering every question and answering every little detail is going to eventually lead them to this leadership, free thinking role.
Yeah. And if you want a simple framework to start with, and like, yeah, you're going to feel weird saying it because one, you don't understand it, but it gets the conversation started, right? Like implement the 1-3-1 rule. It's simple. And
Right.
when the guy calls you or needs something, like, what's your 1-3-1? And the 1-3-1 is simple. What's the one problem we're solving? We're not solving multiple problems, just one. What's the 3 recommendations that you think would be a solution to solve that problem? And out of
Right.
those 3, what's the one you would do if you were in charge to make the decision?
Right.
And you do that enough with the guys, they will be doing the right thing with their one, and they'll quit asking you about petty problems.
Right.
Well, I don't know how we're going to spread all this dirt before lunchtime because that other stuff's coming in. You got any ideas? Well, how would you? No more than you do, right? But instead of saying it that way, like, well, what's the 1-3-1? Get some dirt spread before noon. What's the 3 ways we could do this? What's the best possible outcome? Well, then you know the answer. Go do it.
Right.
And the psychology behind that too is now that they've got the answer, they're bought in. They're going to make sure that shit's done by noon.
Right. Yeah, and I think you build confidence when you do stuff with your guys like that. They feel like they have some stake in it, some ownership. They're like, okay, I can figure this out.
Yep. I always heard that competence is what breeds confidence.
I like that. I don't think I've heard that.
So like the more you work with your guys and the more competent they come at problem solving, doing great, whatever it is, their confidence level increases with that competence.
Right.
So if you got a guy that's amazing in a skid steer, but an idiot outside the door, work on competence in that area.
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Like as a business owner, I always joke that your title should be chief problem solver, but like all the things you think about when you want to start a business, you don't do any of them when you actually own the damn thing.
Right.
Managing team and little problems, and then the problems with it's just like, Jesus, is this what I signed up for?
Yeah. Not acting like you're the guys you've worked for,
So,
the problem boss you had.
Yeah. But again, it's like, start asking who, not how. Like, who can I have handle this instead of how do I handle it? Especially if you got a couple guys on your team.
Right.
Like you're not meant to do this alone.
No. And I think that's where a lot of guys struggle. They start out like that and they start out alone and they get so used to doing it alone and they bring on somebody and it's like, just let me do it. Right. I struggle with that personally. So like that's coming from someone who like, I've got to be aware of that.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being a solo guy and doing every part of every process if you know that you have a limit and you're comfortable at that level of success.
Right.
I've got a friend in North Carolina that he's got one part-timer laborer, but he's knocking down the numbers he wants to knock down. He's got kids at home, so he has the free time with the daughters in high school, and he doesn't want to grow. He's like, maybe in 2 years when the kids are out of the house, but right now I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and I don't have to manage more team members. And but he's designed, again, it didn't happen by accident. He designed it.
Yeah, he's clear on what he wants.
Yeah. And so are you, man. Like, and I loved hearing that crystal clearness more about your personal life than your business.
Right.
I'm a firm believer the business should support your life.
Yeah, not be your life.
Man, that's awesome. Colton, I didn't think we could do it, but I think this conversation was just as good as last week's.
Yeah. I told several people about it. I was like, yeah, man, we had a great conversation. And then realized it wasn't recorded.
I was deflated. I had to quit working for the day after that. I was just like, I was beating myself up over it. And then I got over it. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Shit happens. Like, we'll actually turn that into the podcast to be like, hey, I fucked up. Like, we all fuck up.
Right.
But I was more bummed because I love that initial response. So that initial hearing information.
Right.
And I knew that my hair wasn't going to stand up in my arms today. And that bummed me out. That's what bummed me out. But we did it anyway, man. And I think it's a powerful message. And I think there's a lot of guys out there that can resonate with it, whether it be with alcohol or, man, you could be obsessed with something else in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
All you're doing is
Work.
hiding from something. Yeah. From work, right? Like if you work 12, 14 hours a day, come home, and then you go straight to the office and you're there for 3-4 hours a night, you're avoiding something.
Yep. Exactly.
So, well, man, I can't thank you enough for taking time twice out of your schedule to talk to the crew. We're going to put Colton's, do you want me to do your email address or your Facebook account in the show notes?
I can do an email or
Right.
whatever's fine.
We'll throw Colton's email address down in the show notes or a link to his email. And so if you guys want to reach out and connect with him or thank him for telling his story, please do. And man, I'm not even going to pitch Skid Steer Nation or Groundbreaking Bro to end this thing. I'm going to leave it on this note right here. Guys know what we do around here. So
yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said,
awesome.
Yeah.
Me
Saw
too,
that
Colton.
message and I was like, man, yeah, listen to this thing. So
that was the coolest part.
Cool.
Like, yeah, it's taken 2 years to get there. And I thought this thing would, I'm like, oh, we got a huge group and a Facebook. Nope. It still takes the work, man. It still takes the production every week to get to this level. And it's been 24 months now, almost 23. So, well, cool, man. Guys, until next Wednesday, keep your chins up, stay on point, work on yourselves, be 1% better tomorrow than you were today. And you continue that process and you'll be a better business owner in a very, very short amount of time. Talk to you guys next week.